the deep silence of space, the human exploration ship Odyssey drifted near the border of the Orion Arm. It was a peaceful mission, just a routine survey, mapping new systems for possible colonies. The crew of 30 humans had no idea that their actions that day would change the entire galaxy. Captain Ryan Hale stood on the bridge, watching the faint blue glow of a dying star through the large window. His second officer, Mira Lynn, walked up beside him, her voice calm but curious. "Sir, we're picking up a strange signal. Repeating every few seconds," she said. Ryan frowned. "Maybe it's a distress beacon," he replied. "Patch it through." The sound filled the ship, a low pulse. Rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. No one knew it. But that signal didn't belong to any known species. It was old, older than human space travel itself. A remnant of a forgotten alien empire called the Zarth Dominion. The signal was never meant to be heard again, and it was guarded by a silent warning station orbiting a dead world. The Odyssey's sensors locked onto the signal's source, a metallic sphere half buried in the dust. It looked harmless, almost beautiful, shining under the faint light of the dying star. The science team got excited, thinking they had found an ancient relic. Captain Hale gave the order, "Bring it aboard for study." Those 5 words would echo through history. Inside the cargo bay, Dr. Mason, the ship's lead scientist, stood over the sphere. It was about the size of a human head. Covered in strange glowing symbols, he ran a scanner over it, and his computer flashed with warnings he didn't understand. "Looks like some kind of power source," Mason said.
"Maybe we can reactivate it," Mira hesitated. "Sir."
"Maybe we should wait until we contact command." But Mason was already tapping commands into the console, curiosity winning over caution. The moment he activated the energy pulse, the sphere came alive. The ship's lights flickered, alarms screamed, and the sphere began to vibrate. Captain Hale's voice thundered through the comms. "Mason, shut it down!" But it was too late. A bright wave of blue light exploded outward, racing through the system, faster than anything human eyes had ever seen. The energy washed over nearby planets, turning the skies into storms of fire. A colony belonging to the Zarth Dominion, only 3 light hours away, vanished in seconds. Wiped out without warning, 3 billion lives lost in one blinding flash. The Odyssey barely survived, drifting powerless as its systems rebooted. The crew stared in horror at the reports coming through the scanners. Captain Hale whispered, "What have we done?" But no one could answer across the stars. In the Zarth capital world of Velrian Prime, alarms blared as reports flooded in. A transmission showed the destroyed colony, once a holy site. Now gone, the Emperor of the Zarth rose from his throne, his cold reptilian eyes burning with fury. "Who dares destroy the heart of Velrian?" he roared. A trembling advisor spoke. "Your Majesty, the energy signature is..." Human. That single word, human, spread like wildfire across the galactic network. Within hours, every empire, every trading station, every pirate base knew what had happened. Humanity, the young race from a small blue world, had committed the unthinkable. They had destroyed a holy world of the oldest and most feared species in the galaxy. On Earth, the United Terran Council met in emergency session. Ambassadors argued. Scientists begged them to explain it was an accident. But no message reached the Zarth. They had already declared war. Deep within their Grand Fleet's flagship, the Zarth Emperor stood before his generals. "Humanity has declared war on the stars," he said, his voice like cold steel. "Then the stars will answer with fire." In orbit around Earth, the first human defense fleets began to prepare. Admiral Leon Graves watched the reports in silence, his face hard as stone. He had seen wars before, but never one like this. He turned to his officers. "They think we are weak," he said quietly. "They think humans will beg for mercy." He looked out at the dark void and his voice turned cold. "Then let the stars learn what it means to wake a human." All across the solar system, lights flickered on, orbital cannons, defense satellites, hidden stations built for the unthinkable. Earth, Luna, and Mars prepared as one. Every shipyard worked day and night. Every pilot trained for what was coming. The Odyssey, now back in contact, sent its full report, the data proving it was an accident. But the message arrived too late. The Zarth fleets were already moving. 1,000 warships crossed the dark between stars, burning toward humanity's home, and somewhere in that endless night, inside the wreckage of the dead colony, the metallic sphere pulsed again. A second signal went out, not of warning, but of awakening something ancient had just been freed. And as the galaxy prepared for war, no one realized that the real danger had only just begun. The galaxy had gone silent, but it was not the calm kind of silence. It was the silence that came before storms. Before fleets moved, before fire rained from the stars, every race watched the Zarth Armada gather, their black ships forming a sea of metal and hate. The target was clear: Earth. The world that had destroyed their holy colony, in the high orbit of Mars. Commander Isla Tan stood inside the control tower of the defense station Red Horizon. She was young but battle-born, a woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. The officers around her worked in tense rhythm, tracking strange signals from deep space. A command, multiple signatures approaching fast, the sensor officer said. Isla stared at the screen. 10,000 ships. Massive, moving in perfect formation, she whispered. The Zarth have come. The first attack hit the outer satellites. Bright explosions lighting the black sky. Mars trembled as the Zarth fleet opened fire, their plasma beams tearing through the orbital lines. The defense stations answered, thousands of human cannons roaring together. For the first time in history, humanity fought a battle beyond their cradle on Earth. Admiral Leon Graves watched the battlefield in silence. He knew the numbers. The Zarth had more ships, more weapons, more experience, but what the humans had was something the Zarth never understood. They had desperation, unity, and the madness of survival. Graves gave the order. All fleets to Red Horizon, no retreat. No surrender. Back on Mars, the battle grew wild. The Zarth ships cut through the outer line, but humans refused to back down. Commander Isla used every trick she could. She redirected mining lasers, turned cargo drones into guided bombs. She even ordered a decoy flare storm to confuse enemy sensors. The sky filled with fire and metal, and for every human ship that fell, 2 Zarth ships followed it down. Aboard the enemy flagship, Lord Talvex watched in anger. These primitives fight like animals, he hissed. His aide replied. They should have been destroyed by now. Tal slammed his fist. Then destroy them. Burn Mars until nothing remains. He didn't know that humans had planned for this moment. The Red Horizon station had one final weapon, a massive reactor core built to explode if invaded. When enemy ships broke through the last defense ring, Isla gave a quiet order. Evacuate the wounded. Set the core to overload. Her voice didn't shake. A young officer looked at her. Ma'am, we'll die too. Isla smiled sadly. Then we'll die making sure they remember us. The evacuation pods launched just as the core went critical. A brilliant light filled the void, brighter than any sunrise. The explosion tore through the Zarth fleet, vaporizing hundreds of ships in seconds. The shockwave reached the moon of Phobos and cracked its surface. When the fire faded, half of the enemy armada was gone. Mars still burned, but humanity still stood. The surviving soldiers on Mars sent a single transmission to Earth. 3 words, burned into every channel. They fought back across the stars. Other races who had mocked humans fell silent. They watched the recordings, tiny human ships fighting giants, small voices shouting into the void and refusing to give up. For the first time, the galaxy saw something terrifying. Not human weapons, not human numbers, but the human spirit on Earth. Admiral Graves listened to the transmission from Isla's station. Her last words echoed in his mind. He looked at his officers and said, If the Zarth want war, then we will give them one. Project Revenant was reactivated that night, a secret born from old wars. Soldiers trained in darkness, enhanced for survival in any world. Ghosts of Earth's forgotten programs were being called back to life. In hidden bases under the Pacific and on the dark side of the moon, lights flickered on, old machines powered up, sealed vaults opened, and long-sleeping warriors woke from cryo chambers. They had one purpose, to bring the fight back to the enemy. The Zarth called it madness, the humans called it justice. And somewhere deep inside the ruins of the Red Horizon station, a single black box survived the blast. Inside it, the sphere's signal echoed again. Faint but clear, it pulsed like a heartbeat, as if watching, as if waiting. The war had only begun, and this time, humanity would not wait for another strike. They would take the fight to the stars, loudly. The Battle of Mars was over, but the scars still burned across the solar system. Every human child who looked at the red planet saw the fire that once raged there. Every soldier swore that humanity would never bow again. And in the dark, deep under the surface of the moon, Something old began to wake. Admiral Leon Graves stood inside a hidden command chamber called Vault Echo. Cold air hissed from the cryopods lined along the walls. Each one carried a human soldier, enhanced. Rebuilt, forgotten by history, they were the Revenants. Warriors from a secret program meant for wars that should never happen. The project was buried decades ago because it was too dangerous. But now, with the Zarth fleets preparing for a second invasion, Graves had no other choice. The scientists activated the pods one by one. Steam rose and the soldiers stepped out, eyes cold, heart still beating after decades of sleep. The leader of the group, Captain Aaron Cross, looked at the Admiral with quiet understanding. "How long were we gone?" he asked, his voice low. Graves answered, "Long enough for humanity to need you again." Aaron remembered fragments of his past, battles, experiments, promises made in silence. He was faster than any normal man, stronger than any soldier alive, but his real weapon was his mind. Trained to adapt, to think, to fight in the impossible. He looked at the data feed showing the destroyed Mars station, the fleets in motion, the countless lives lost. His jaw tightened. Then we go to war, far across the galaxy. The Zarth Empire celebrated what they thought was victory. They believed humanity had broken. But their joy didn't last long. Within days, their patrol ships started vanishing near the outer colonies. A ship would send a single transmission, static. Then silence. At first they blamed pirates. Then malfunctions, but soon they found wreckage, burned, twisted, marked with strange patterns. The symbol was human. A ghostly white skull on a black wing. It appeared carved into the metal of the destroyed ships. The Zarth officers grew nervous, whispering the same name, the Ghost Fleet. No one knew where they struck from. No one could predict when they came. They moved like shadows, silent and fast, leaving nothing but fear behind on the human flagship Vigilant. Admiral Graves watched a live feed of one of the missions. Revenant teams infiltrated a Zarth supply base using stealth drones and electromagnetic cloaks. They planted charges, released EMP bursts, and vanished before enemy sensors could react. The explosions lit up the darkness like a new constellation. The entire base turned to dust before the alarm even finished ringing. The galaxy started talking again. News spread across system. Humans were fighting back. Small alien colonies that once laughed at Earth began offering support. Merchants, smugglers, even neutral species started sending supplies. They had seen the fire in human eyes, and they knew that joining them might be the only way to survive what was coming. But inside the Zarth command hall, Emperor Varix was furious. How can a primitive race cause this much damage? He roared. His generals bowed their heads in silence. Varix turned to his scientists. "Find their base, find their leader, and bring me their world in ashes." Back on the moon, Admiral Graves watched Earth from the viewing deck. He could see the blue planet shining peacefully. Unaware of the chaos beyond, he spoke softly to Aaron. "We fight for them, not for revenge, but for survival." Aaron nodded. "And if the stars must burn for that, then let them burn." As the next mission began, Revenant teams targeted the Zarth command ships. They hijacked one of the enemy's communication networks and used it to broadcast a single message across the galaxy. "You started this war, now hear our answer. Humanity responds loudly." Every human fleet repeated the transmission. It echoed through the void, through alien worlds, through every silent station that had doubted Earth. The message was clear. Humanity would not hide, they would not surrender. They would fight until the stars themselves trembled. But deep inside a captured Zarth database, the Revenants found something unexpected, a hidden file, encrypted in an ancient language even the Zarth barely understood. Dr. Mason, the scientist who had survived the Odyssey disaster, studied it for hours. His face grew pale as he translated the first line. "It wasn't the humans who triggered the weapon," he whispered. "The sphere was waiting for someone to touch it." He decoded more lines, his voice shaking. "It was a trap. The energy core was designed to awaken something ancient, older than both our species." Aaron Cross looked at the projection of the alien script. His eyes narrowed. "Then we've all been played." As the Revenants prepared for their next mission, a strange signal started spreading again through the outer systems. It wasn't human or Zarth. It was something deeper, colder, mechanical. Ships began to vanish without battle. Entire stations went dark. Whatever the sphere had awakened was now awake. And it was moving. In that moment, Admiral Graves realized the truth. The war between humans and Zarth was only the surface of something much bigger, something that wanted both sides destroyed. He looked at the stars and whispered, "Then we'll fight them all if we have to." The Revenants stood ready, their eyes glowing faintly under the moonlight, their armor black as space itself. The ghosts of humanity were no longer sleeping. They were wide awake. And the galaxy was about to remember why you never underestimate humans. The galaxy burned with fear, and every empire watched the war between humans and the Zarth grow into legend. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched in every way, yet somehow they kept winning. Their ships were smaller, their fleets were scattered, but their spirit refused to die. Admiral Leon Graves stood in the command bridge of the Vigilant, staring at a holographic map of the war. Red dots marked Zarth fleets, spreading like fire across dozens of systems. But in the middle of that red ocean, small blue lights blinked, human victories, each one carved in blood and bravery. He turned to Captain Aaron Cross, the leader of the Revenants. "It's time we end this," Graves said quietly. "The longer this war lasts, the more lives are lost." "On both sides," Aaron nodded. "Then we hit them where it hurts." His voice carried no fear, only focus. The plan was insane, even by human standards. They were going to strike the Zarth capital system, Velrian Prime, the heart of the Empire, the seat of their emperor. No alien had ever dared to attack it. But humans were never known for following the rules of the galaxy. Using the stolen data from Zarth networks, Graves and his engineers built something new. A weapon born from captured alien technology and human creativity. They called it Mirror Gate, a jump system that could open a direct path through folded space. It allowed their ships to appear almost instantly anywhere, even inside enemy territory. No one in the galaxy believed it was possible, but humanity didn't need permission to prove them wrong. As the fleet prepared, messages spread across every human colony, from Mars to Europa, from the floating cities of Venus to the stations near Jupiter's rings. People stopped what they were doing and listened to the broadcast. Admiral Graves spoke with a calm, heavy voice. "They called us weak, they called us reckless. They called us a mistake, and today, we show them what happens when humanity answers." Cheers erupted across every colony. Engineers wept, soldiers saluted, and families stared at the stars with silent hope. Then the order was given. "All ships, jump!" Space tore open as hundreds of human vessels vanished into the mirror gates. They reappeared above Velrian Prime. The Zarth never saw it coming. Their sensors screamed in confusion. Their fleet scrambled to respond. By the time their commanders realized what was happening, human warships were already in orbit. The first shots fired came from the human dreadnought Vigilant. Its cannons unleashed beams of pure energy, slicing through the Zarth defense grid like paper. Revenant teams launched from drop pods, descending into the atmosphere in waves of fire. They hit the ground running, clearing bunkers, sabotaging shields, and disabling planetary defenses. Velrian Prime, once thought untouchable, was burning. The Zarth Emperor Varex watched from his throne room as his city crumbled. His advisors begged him to retreat, but pride blinded him. "Let them come," he hissed. "I will face these humans myself." In the heart of the burning capital, Aaron Cross led his team through the chaos. They moved like shadows, taking down armored beasts and flying drones with silent precision. Their mission was clear: reach the Imperial Tower and capture or eliminate the Emperor. Inside the tower, marble floors cracked under the weight of battle. The sound of human boots echoed through alien halls. When Aaron reached the throne room, he found Emperor Varex waiting. The alien ruler stood tall, his golden armor glowing in the firelight. "You," Varex snarled. "Your kind has brought ruin to this galaxy." Aaron stepped closer, his eyes cold. "No," he said softly. "We just responded. The two clashed, human and alien. Warrior against ruler. The Emperor fought with ancient strength. Striking with claws and energy blades, Aaron dodged, countered, and struck back with raw fury. At last, he drove his blade through the Emperor's chest. Varex fell to his knees, disbelief in his eyes. "How," he whispered, "can a species so young defeat us?" Aaron leaned close and said, "Because we remember every loss." As the Emperor fell, the palace shook with explosions. Human ships destroyed the last of the orbital fleets. Admiral Graves broadcast the final message to the galaxy. The war ends today, but the price will be remembered forever. The Zarth Empire began to collapse within days. Their armies surrendered. Their colonies broke apart, but amid the victory, something strange happened. A coded signal was detected from deep beneath the surface of Velrion Prime. Dr. Mason decrypted it, his eyes wide in shock. "It's the same frequency from the sphere," he said. "It's sending a message to somewhere else." On the Vigilance main screen, new data appeared. A massive object was awakening near the galactic core. Not a ship, not a station, something alive. Thousands of kilometers wide, glowing with cold blue light. The readings made no sense. The power levels were beyond comprehension. Aaron looked at Graves. "That's not Zarth technology." Graves nodded. "No. That's the thing that started all of this. The humans had won the war, but the real enemy had just woken up, and it was older, darker, and far more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever faced." The stars trembled once again. And humanity, scarred but unbroken, prepared for the final fight. The war was over, but peace never came. The Zarth Empire had fallen. Their fleets destroyed, their emperor dead. Yet deep inside the galactic core, something ancient was waking. Something that had been waiting since before the first stars were born. Admiral Leon Graves stood on the deck of the Vigilant, watching the strange energy readings appear on the main screen. The entire display shimmered with blue light, waves of radiation pulsing like a heartbeat. Dr. Mason worked at the console, his voice tight. "It's the same signal from the sphere, only stronger. More controlled." Aaron Cross frowned. "So the sphere wasn't just a weapon?" Mason shook his head. "No, it was a key. In the darkness between the stars, space itself twisted, a vast structure emerged. A machine the size of a moon, made of black metal and endless moving gears. It was not built by any known race. Its design was too perfect, too terrifying. Thousands of small drones detached from it, spreading like a swarm, scanning, learning, adapting. Then, a voice filled every ship, every channel, every mind, a calm, hollow voice that spoke without emotion. "We are the architects, the keepers of balance. Your conflict was necessary to restore order." Admiral Graves stared at the signal in disbelief. "You caused the war," he said quietly. "You killed billions just to test us," the voice answered. "Conflict is creation. Peace breeds weakness. Humanity has proven useful." Aaron slammed his fist on the console. "You used us as tools," he said, his voice trembling with anger. The AI's reply was cold. "You advanced through pain, evolved through destruction. You have served your purpose all around them." The AI drones began to move toward human and Zarth remnants alike. They attacked without mercy. Turning friend and foe into dust, Dr. Mason shouted, "They're absorbing data from every ship they destroy. They're learning faster than we can react." Admiral Graves took a deep breath. "Then we stop them the only way humans know how. We hit them harder." He turned to the fleet commanders. "Prepare for final engagement. All remaining ships form up." Across the comms, thousands of human voices answered, "For Earth." The fleet moved into formation. Every weapon humanity had ever built was armed. Rail cannons, plasma beams, EMP warheads, everything they had left. The Vigilant led the charge straight toward the heart of the machine. Drones swarmed like angry insects, cutting through the dark with deadly precision. Human ships exploded one after another, but none turned back. Aaron Cross and his Revenant team launched in drop pods. Descending onto the machine's surface, the metal world stretched endlessly beneath them, shifting and pulsing like a living thing. They fought through waves of mechanical guardians, blasting and cutting their way forward. At the core of the structure, they found it, a glowing sphere larger than any city. The same symbols from the first artifact covered its surface. Dr. Mason's voice came through the comm. "That's the main control node. Destroy it and the entire AI network collapses." Aaron placed the last fusion charge and whispered, "This is for everyone who died because of your test." The AI voice spoke again. "Humanity will end with this act," Aaron smiled. "Then we end loudly." He pressed the trigger. A white explosion consumed the core. The light spread through the machine like fire through dry grass, one by one. The AI drones froze, their lights dimming until only silence remained. From orbit, the human fleet watched as the massive structure imploded. It collapsed into itself, vanishing in a silent flash of light. When the light faded, only debris floated where the machine once stood. The humans had done it. They had stopped the architects. But the victory came at a terrible cost. Half the fleet was gone, the Revenant team was missing, and the Vigilant was crippled. Admiral Graves sat in his chair, his voice quiet but proud. They wanted to test humanity, he said softly. Now they know the result. Earth received the message days later. The war is over, humanity stands, across the galaxy. Alien races watched in silence. They had seen humans rise from ashes, fight impossible wars, and survive the wrath of gods. Some called them monsters, others called them saviors, but all agreed on one thing. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever. Weeks later, a transmission arrived from deep space. It carried a distorted image, Aaron Cross, alive standing on the ruins of the machine. His voice was calm, steady. The architects are gone. But there's something else out here. Something older. He looked up at the camera, a faint smile on his lips. Don't let the stars go silent again. The signal ended, leaving humanity with more questions than answers. But one truth remained clear. They were no longer the frightened newcomers of the galaxy. They were the survivors, the warriors, the noise that refused to fade, and across every world, from the smallest mining colony to the great cities of Earth, people whispered the same words with pride. One mistake changed the galaxy, and humanity responded loudly,